In MotoGP, rivalries are not just fought on the track. They are forged in the shadows of the pit box, in the tense silence before the lights go out, and in the glances exchanged inside the team garage. This season, Ducati is the epicenter of that tension. Marc Marquez, the relentless hunter, has stormed into the team and immediately disrupted the balance. Pecco Bagnaia, the pride of Ducati, now finds himself locked in a battle not just for points, but for supremacy within his own camp. And when Jorge Lorenzo, a three-time world champion, draws parallels between Bagnaia's current struggle and his own wars with legends like Rossi and Marquez, you know this is more than just a storyline. It's a psychological battle that could decide the fate of the championship. What Lorenzo reveals in this interview peels back the curtain on the unique pressure of sharing a garage with a once-in-a-generation talent, and why Ducati's harmony could be on the verge of collapse. Before we dive deeper, make sure you hit that subscribe button, because in this video, we're going to unpack the drama, the mind games, and the hidden battles that could shape MotoGP 2025. Jorge Lorenzo's insight into the current Marquez-Bagnaia rivalry doesn't come from watching races on television or scanning the results sheet. It comes from a career spent in the cockpit of MotoGP's fiercest battles. He knows the intensity of sharing a garage with a rider who can dismantle your confidence not through words, but through lap times. When Lorenzo speaks, you're hearing the voice of someone who's felt the pressure of walking into the garage after a session, checking the timing screens, and seeing your teammate's name above yours again and again. At Yamaha, Lorenzo's years alongside Valentino Rossi were defined by an uneasy coexistence. On paper, they were teammates, working for the same factory, with the same goal of bringing glory to the blue brand. In reality, they were locked in a constant psychological war, both aware that in MotoGP, the rider who controls the garage often controls the team's future direction. Rossi, with his charisma and massive fan base, and Lorenzo, with his clinical speed and precision, clashed on everything from setup direction to public statements. The atmosphere was often electric, sometimes poisonous. Fast forward to 2019, and Lorenzo experienced another extreme, joining Honda to partner Marc Marquez. This was different. Rossi had been a master of mind games. Marquez was pure on-track destruction. His ability to push the bike to, and beyond, its limits was unmatched. Even when Honda's RC213V wasn't the friendliest bike on the grid, Marquez bent it to his will. For Lorenzo, the challenge was not just trying to match his teammates' pace, but doing so while knowing Marquez was willing to risk everything, lap after lap, corner after corner. It's with that history that Lorenzo views the Ducati garage in 2025. Bagnaia, unlike Lorenzo in 2019, isn't struggling with injuries or a bike that doesn't suit him. Arguably at the peak of his powers, riding a GP25 that has been refined around his style over several seasons. And yet, Marquez arrives, older, but still ravenous, and immediately matches, even surpasses, Bagnaia's pace. Lorenzo dismisses the common narrative that Bagnaia is simply adapting to Marquez's aggressive style. The truth, he says, is more uncomfortable for Pecco's supporters. Marquez is one of those rare riders who simply rewrites the rules. A rider who can walk into a new team, learn a bike in weeks, and find the limit before others even realize where it is. He compares Marquez to the likes of Rossi, Stoner, and even himself, but adds that on pure statistical dominance, Marquez could end up eclipsing them all. That's a remarkable admission from a rider of Lorenzo's ego and pedigree. But Bagnaia is not without his own weapons. Lorenzo is quick to praise his mental resilience. In 2024, Bagnaia's campaign looked shaky midway through the season, but he clawed back momentum and sealed the title. That refusal to surrender, that deep belief in his own craft, is the one thing that might keep him alive in this year's title fight. Still, Lorenzo warns that the psychological strain of seeing your teammate, especially one like Marquez, consistently faster is something no data sheet can quantify. And then there's the unseen battle within Ducati itself. Factory teams in MotoGP like to project unity, but resources, attention, and even subtle engineering priorities can shift toward the rider delivering the best results. If Marquez continues to outpace Bagnaia, how long before the engineers start tailoring development to suit his style? Could sponsors, lured by Marquez's global star power, quietly push the team in his direction? These are the undercurrents that can fracture a team from the inside, even without a public fallout. Lorenzo's analysis doesn't stop at Ducati. He points out that the entire 2025 grid is a volatile mix. Yamaha, long criticized for its lack of qualifying speed, has found new life. A fast one-lap pace doesn't guarantee wins, but it's the first step in the climb back to competitiveness. Lorenzo notes that Fabio Quartararo could have claimed victory at Silverstone were it not for a cruel technical issue. That's significant because it means Yamaha might soon be in the fight not just for podiums, but for race wins, a factor that could disrupt Ducati's internal war by stealing points from both Marquez and Bagnaia. Alex Marquez is another surprise package. Few expected him to be a consistent podium finisher, but at Gresini Racing has been just that. Lorenzo attributes this to Alex's growing maturity and improved ability to adapt to changing race conditions. While Alex is not yet in the title fight, his presence at the front could play spoiler, especially in races where he can take points away from his brother or Bagnaia. Then comes the Jorge Martin saga. His much-publicized move to Aprilia was initially seen as a bold step, but Lorenzo believes Martin's heart was never fully committed. His first test on the new bike seemed to deepen his uncertainty, leading him to trigger an exit clause. Lorenzo is critical of how the situation was handled, saying that a more private negotiation with Dorna and the teams could have avoided the media circus. In MotoGP, perception is everything, and Martin's perceived hesitation could shadow his performance well into the season. All of this, Yamaha's resurgence, Alex Marquez's form, Martin's uncertainty, feeds back into the central question. Can Bagnaia hold his ground against Marquez? On raw speed, they might be evenly matched on certain days. But over a season, the smallest mental cracks can become gaping wounds. Lorenzo knows this better than most. A single crash, a bad qualifying, or a run of races where your teammate beats you to the podium can erode even the strongest self-belief. Marquez, for his part, thrives in these environments. He doesn't just race you. He applies pressure until you make a mistake, then pounces. Bagnaia's youth could be an advantage in stamina and long-term focus, but Marquez's experience in title fights, especially from behind, is unparalleled. The Spaniard has made a career out of bending championship momentum to his will. Lorenzo predicts that the duel will come down to more than just who's faster on Sunday. It will be about who can control the ebb and flow of the championship narrative. In MotoGP, momentum is everything. Win 2 races in a row and suddenly the paddock believes you're unbeatable. Lose 2 in a row and the vultures start circling. The rider who can weather those swings and keep the garage united behind him will emerge on top. As for the rest of the season, Lorenzo sees chaos brewing. Yamaha could upset the Ducati dominance in certain rounds. Aprilia might find breakthroughs late in the year, and satellite riders like Alex Marquez could play kingmakers. But the real theater, the storyline that will define 2025, will be the silent war between Marquez and Bagnaia. And make no mistake, this isn't just about the 2025 title. Whoever wins this internal battle will shape the future of Ducati for years to come. Development, contracts, even the team's political balance in the paddock, all of it will tilt toward the victor. For Bagnaia, defending his crown isn't just about keeping the #1 plate. It's about keeping control of his team. For Marquez, it's about proving that even after switching machinery, he can still bend the MotoGP world to his will. In Lorenzo's words, Marc Marquez is a phenomenon, a rider you only see once in a generation. But as is also quick to note, in this sport, even a phenomenon can be beaten. It just takes perfect execution, unbreakable mental strength, and maybe a little bit of luck. So, what do you think? Will Bagnaia's youth and resilience be enough to topple Marquez's relentless assault? Or are we witnessing the start of a new Ducati dynasty led by the 8-time world champion? The rest of this season might just give us the answer.